Hi, and welcome back to the HSP Connection podcast with me, Philippa Robinson.
And me, Robbie Lee.
This is the place where we share our stories, insights, and strategies to help fellow highly sensitive people navigate their own path to living a fulfilling and meaningful life.
The first 10 episodes in this series are really conversations that we had over on Philippa's solo podcast, The Meeting of Minds. But we thought they were so valuable that we wanted to bring them over here. And it's actually what we did over there was the birthplace of this podcast here. So what we're doing is we're bringing them over, but we're doing it with a twist because Philippa and I have re-listened and we're going to be adding still a little bit of our current insight into what we said before. So today, Philippa, we're talking about the gifts of high sensitivity, which is one of my favorite topics.
Yeah.
And as I was reviewing my notes.
Yeah, well, your notes on this episode are really extensive, aren't they, Robbie?
I literally wrote down, loved this, exclamation point. And that's all I had. So what that actually tells me though is that I was really listening and in it, and I just was really enjoying the conversation. I wasn't taking myself out of it to be like, oh, jot that down. I just really liked it. So I'm hoping you had some other notes we could pull off of for this one. What did your notes look like?
This is so funny. This is making me laugh so much because, like, anybody who listened to the original episodes will sort of know that Robbie was the one that usually turned up organised and with notes. And we've had a bit of a role reversal here. I'm not quite sure what's going on, but it won't last. We'll go backwards and forwards, won't we? And yeah. I too, it's funny because you said that, which had us in stitches just before we started recording. And then I'm looking down my notes and about halfway down, I'm going, I'm really enjoying listening to this episode and revisiting the beauty and gifts of the trait of high sensitivity. So we were both really enjoying listening back and enjoying our conversation and just really reveling in the beauty and the gifts of being a highly sensitive person, because that's how we experience it, isn't it?
Now, yes.
Yeah.
Which, if you heard our previous episode, we talked a little bit about, for me, that wasn't always the case. I didn't come to it that way. But now, yes, I do. I love the gifts, and I love helping my clients share their gifts. Like, it's just, I love promoting HSPs who are doing their gifts in the world. Like, I love educating people on what HSPs bring to the world. Like, there's just so much beauty in being a highly sensitive person. We see the world differently, we feel it differently, we experience it differently, and it's really valuable. So yeah, I get really excited about it.
I know, and it's funny because I was listening to you say that just then, and it kind of sometimes can feel a bit like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not used to going on about how, my experience of my life up until age 47 was not about how wonderful and full of beauty and gifts it was. It was very much, I was still really in survival mode from my childhood. Yeah. So to listen to me talking to you and us having a wonderful conversation about how this personality, this innate trait that we have brings us so much joy, and the gifts and the beauty that it brings with us, it's just like, is this me? Is this really me? And is this okay to be talking about this? And, it really is, because I remember reading, I think it was in The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. He says in there, I'm pretty sure it's this book, and he says something like, our only job is to experience as much joy as we can in our lifetime. And it's like, wow. I remember reading that and thinking, what? Are you sure? And thinking how wonderful that could be if I could get there. I'm now realizing, as we're talking about it now today, that that is what being in HSP has brought to me.
Yeah.
It's helped me appreciate all the things that I have always done, always experienced, but didn't understand them, didn't appreciate them, and certainly didn't revel in them. In fact, I probably hid them all. I hid them away and thought it was a problem.
Yes.
I didn't know it was high sensitivity. I just knew there was something about me and the way I experienced the world that really wasn't for sharing. And now I just want to talk about it all the time and tell everybody how wonderful it is, and have these wonderful conversations with you.
Yeah. Oh, how beautiful. Yes.
So
life is for joy.
Life is for joy, and that's our biggest job, is to have, our most important job is to have as much joy as we can. And one thing that it does bring to mind that we talked about in that episode is that I talked in that episode about how I have realized that my deep appreciation for music, for art, for lots of creative things, for nature, for just experiencing life. So my enthusiasm for the way that I feel deeply about things, I've realized that by experiencing that and talking about it, I can actually help other people in my life see a bit of what I'm seeing or feel a bit of what I'm feeling and enhance their enjoyment of it. So not only am I having a great time, it's sort of rubbing off a bit on them as well. That is just such a gift.
I love that so much. Yeah. I remember when you said it the first time, I thought, oh, that's amazing. Yeah. And I'm glad you're bringing it up again. Yeah, because you're right. We innately see things and experiencing things differently than others, but in our sharing of it, it can enhance life for other people too. It could help them look at a sunset in a different way, or stop a moment and experience what we're experiencing. Yeah. And yeah, that's really beautiful.
Yeah. So I think that's all the reflections I've got. And we know it's all the reflections you've got.
Well, to summarize again, I loved it.
Yeah, I loved it too. So, listeners, now it's time for you to listen, and let us know if you we hope you love it, and let us know if you love it too. So today we've decided we're going to talk more about the wonderful gifts and the joy that it brings being an HSP, because that's definitely our experience. And yeah, so Robbie's got a list, which is good because I don't. We have talked about this list, but Robbie's in charge of the list. So sorry to sort of hand this straight over, but you've got a list, haven't you?
I do, yeah. We brainstormed some things.
We did.
Yeah, and we've got a list.
We
and
have.
I was the one that wrote it down. So
yeah. So you're kind of in charge of the list. What's first on the list?
Well, first on the list is intuition. So we have an incredible intuition. We get a sense if things are not right, or we get a sense of things about people, or we seem to know things that other people don't know.
We do, don't we? And it took me a while to understand that I do have a deep connection with my intuition. I wasn't sure, but I wasn't sure about lots of things, to be fair, until I've been getting more sure over the last 6 years. But do you, I don't know if you can put it into words, because sometimes it's quite difficult, isn't it? Can you put it into words how you can connect with, and how you might know what your intuition is trying to tell you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I have found that I have kind of nurtured that relationship over the years. So it's evolved. But at first, the way it would occur to me is just kind of like a note, like a quick knowing, like maybe I would say verbally I was making a decision, and then something inside would feel like a and I'd be like, oh, maybe that's not the right decision. It was kind of that thing.
Yeah.
And for a long time, like I would notice it, I would then have a conversation with my brain about it and talk myself into doing whatever I wanted to do. And then something would happen and I'd be like, yeah, see, I should have trusted my gut. I should have trusted my gut. And it was years of me saying, oh, I should have trusted my gut. And then I finally started going, okay, how do I trust my gut? How do I do that?
Yes.
And so I started making more space for it. And I would, like I said, my brain would always get involved, and my logic would try to be like, well, blah, blah, blah. And so I started to say, thank you, logic. I appreciate your input, but you're not the only one giving advice here, you know? And so then as I started noticing my intuition, then I started feel like I would feel something in my stomach, or I'd feel something in my chest, or I would see a fully formed picture in my mind. Like it's just, there's different ways that it comes to me, but there is always, it feels instant, and it's just like, whew, something is suddenly this. I know something. It feels like the way I describe it is I have a hit. Something just
interesting. Yeah.
How does it occur for you?
Well, yeah, I think I can definitely connect with it if it's a yes or a no, you know, shall I do this, yes or no, sort of thing. And I learned that I have that when, like, during my therapy, there would be a couple of occasions where she would do something, we'd do something different. And once that she said, okay, so write this, you know, I don't know, should I stay in my job? So stay in the job on one piece of paper and leave the job on another piece of paper, and put them on the floor, and then stand on one and then stand on the other, and notice if you can feel any difference.
Very nice.
And I would definitely feel a like a little, I don't know, it's sort of, I'm not about to throw up, it's not that sort of, but it's just that little nudge, a little, you know, that I learned to understand was a yes. And for me, a no is usually silence.
Fascinating. Yeah.
Usually. So I don't, you know, I only get a yes or I get nothing. And there was also another time on the Counselling Foundation course I was talking about in episode 1, where we all had to make a decision. There was 20 of us, and we had to make a decision which was going to be our tutor. So when the tutors came back in, they said, we want 10 sitting over there and 10 sitting over there. So we had 10 on this side, and there was 9 people over there, and there was one woman who couldn't decide. And you know, she said, oh, well, I feel like I've got to go there now. When people were saying, no, you don't have to go there, we've all made this decision, but equally we've got to make a decision together. So if you want to come over here where these 10 are, then we'll have one person will have to decide to go over there. So you make your, oh, I can't make a decision. And I said to her, well, I said, well, go and sit over there and see how that feels, and then come and sit over here and see how this feels. And I just instinctively kind of knew to suggest that to her. I didn't know whether she was going, and anyway, she sat on both, and she went, oh no, I want to be over here, which made us 10-10, which was really, but that was quite interesting that somehow I kind of knew to say that, and she did it, and it had a reaction for her. So I think I don't necessarily get fully formed pictures, but I do. It's usually more of a feeling, and I get words, and the words I don't necessarily hear. I feel, I think I've said this. I think I said in the episode with you that it's like I see them. Yeah. But I don't like see the word, like, you know, so when I'm coaching with clients, words just come to me. So say the word fear came up. I don't see the word fear, and I don't hear it in my ear either, but I know it's the word fear. So how I must be feeling it. I'm not feeling the fear, but I'm feeling the word fear. Yes. If that, I mean, you know, sorry to anybody who's listening, this makes completely no sense to, but I think there will be people who it makes sense to. Yes.
And this is what, I mean, I actually love that you were explaining that, because this highlights what Willow says to us all the time, which is we're not used to having these conversations. We're
Yes.
not used to trying to describe what actually happens for us.
Yeah.
And so it can be hard to find the words
Yeah.
and to actually describe it. It's like, I don't know. I don't know. It just is. Like, I just know. I just feel it. I don't know.
Exactly. And that's, you know, what's so beautiful about being with other HSPs, because we get that. And
Yes.
so finding community of people who you can have these conversations with, you know, like you and I are here, you know, and,
Yes.
you know, who get it. I mean, and you might have a different experience to me, but you can understand how I can be having this experience, and I can understand how you can be having that experience. And we're just very accepting of it, because that's the language that we have become used to, and the way of being that we've become used to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautifully said.
Oh, thanks. But yeah, the intuition is, I mean, it's a great way to be led rather than being led by your head. You know, I know I've said to a few clients over the last 2 years, you're not going to think your way out of this. Right. You know, you're going to feel your way, and it's a little bit like they've never realized that's possible. But yes, that's because we grow up with, I think, you know, that intellect is everything. Yes. You know, do well, exam results and all these things, that is everything. Whereas actually there's a whole other, you know, feeling, sensing part of us that is actually much more wise.
It's very intelligent. Yes. Yeah. In Dr. Brene Brown's new book, Atlas of the Heart, she talks and says, like, we are not thinking beings with feelings.
Yes.
We are emotional beings who think.
Yes. Exactly.
But I absolutely walked through the world for most of my life thinking I was a thinking being.
Yeah.
Right? That is exactly what you said. Like in school, right? What is it that we're promoting? It's the thinking brain.
Yes.
It's the training of the thinking brain. And that's important training, but it's not the only intelligence. Like, and emotional intelligence is so important. And that's actually leads us to the next thing that HSPs are really great at. We have a high
is that
segues?
Oh, I think you're going to say segues are they really great thing that HSPs are really good at.
I'm terrible at segues normally, but this one
one worked brilliantly, because I kind of knew that was on the list, and I was thinking, oh, is that going to take us nicely into
emotional intelligence?
Robbie.
High EQ is something that HSPs have.
Yeah.
So we can read people so well. We communicate very well. We generally know how we're feeling. We know how others are feeling. We can read all of the micro expressions and the body language and the ethers. I don't know how else to say it, right? We just, whatever we're feeling, we're picking up on things, and we're very emotionally intelligent.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we don't always get it right.
No, we don't. But we can feel that there's something, right?
We absolutely can feel that there's something. And also, you know, we are, you know, in relationship with other people. And, you know, that doesn't, you know, what I'm saying is, yes, we are, you know, supremely emotionally intelligent, actually. But that also doesn't mean that we've not got other things playing in as well. So it's not like, oh, you know, if you're with an HSP, it's going to be an easy ride because they're going to know it all, because that's actually not what happens. But if you
we are still humans, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was trying to say. We are human beings, and we have all our conditioning that comes with what has happened to us in our life up until now. But if we can allow ourselves to tap into that greatness that we have, that great ability, then it really does become something that stands us in really good stead in our relationships and moving through the world.
Yes.
If we can just really embrace that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of, that one's tied to another of our strengths, which is the ability to read people. I think they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And you talked a little bit last time about, you know, how that impacts your ability to be a mom, and how, you know, just kind of knowing when your son comes home what he needs. And I think about, you know, in the workplace, we're able to walk into a room and know what's going, like, maybe if we don't know exactly, we know that there's something. Like, I can remember walking into meetings and going, oh, there's something not right here. Something is unsettled. There's something in the underneath what is being said, right?
Yes.
We can pick up on the things that aren't being said.
Yes. Yeah. And if actually we felt safe enough to do it, it would be a really useful thing to be able to name that. Yes. And to actually say, actually, you know, I can hear what you're all saying, but I am really sensing there is something else underneath here. And I don't think we're going to be able to resolve this until, like, whatever it is that you're talking about, until you've addressed what isn't being spoken about.
100% right.
Yeah. But that has to come with the psychological safety to be able to do that. And unfortunately, a lot of companies are not like that, but that's what it could be. That's what,
absolutely,
that's how it could be if we could understand that highly sensitives have so much to bring. You know, wouldn't it be amazing if, you know, you were sat around a table and you knew that, I don't know, say there's 10 people, so 2 of them are HSPs, and you all have a conversation, you go, now guys, what are you feeling? What is there anything we've missed? Or is there anything you're feeling that we've not taken into consideration? Because I know that you will be having, perhaps, you know, you'll have something to say, I'm sure. I mean, how amazing would that be?
Oh, that gave me chill bumps. That would be amazing.
It would. I mean, it would also obviously be equally amazing to listen to the other 8, but I just mean,
of course,
understanding that some of those people around that table are absolutely going to be feeling something different, but do they feel safe enough to say it? And I think a lot of the time, I mean, I've been in situations like that and I've not dared open my mouth. So
100%. Yeah. Several times for me as well. I will say there have been times when I was hired as a consultant and it was for like a team building. And so there was already groundwork laid that I was there to help talk about what was going on. And so that did give me the permission to say, I hear what you're all saying, but honestly, I don't buy it. There's something else that you're not saying. And it was magical. Like it absolutely, like that is the real work, in my opinion. I put that in quotes, but that's the kind of work that feeds my soul, is to actually talk about what's really going on. But to your point, there has to be an agreement that it's safe to do that here, that's what we're about in this space, that we're going to name the things that are true.
And I remember once sitting around a table where all these men, as it happened to be, and I was the only woman sitting around the table, and they were all talking about this thing that they were all developing and how great it was going to be. And I was sitting there thinking, I think this is a load of rubbish. And I can't, not that it's a load of rubbish. I think it's a great idea, but I don't think anybody will pay for it, because I don't really, but anyway, that is what I thought. And I actually said it. I did actually say, you know, I can totally understand where you're coming from, because it benefits you for this thing to be done. It would make, you know, your business better, but I don't think you're seeing it from the point of view of the end user. And why would they pay for that? I just don't understand. If that was me, I wouldn't pay for it. And one of the bosses absolutely went, well, that's absolutely ridiculous, and and why wouldn't people pay? And he just didn't understand that in his privileged position, with the amount of money that he had and all that you know, an extra £10 on something didn't seem very much, but I could see how that would make a difference. And anyway, they didn't like that, and I'd learned not to open my mouth again. But the thing that they were talking about never did come to anything in the end. I don't know whether that was anything I said, because they wouldn't ever admit that, but it was interesting.
But what a different experience it could have been if they had listened to what you were saying and kind of explored that more. Right. And you raise a good, you know, another one of our strengths, which is like, we are able to see how things affect people. Like we're able to kind of look at, okay, if this was brought into this system, or we're going to try this new thing, how it's going to affect people downstream. Like, we're really able to put ourselves in other shoes and see what that experience would be like. And that is so valuable if people are willing to hear that, right?
It is. And you know, I mean, that's the essence of empathy, really, isn't it? And yeah, and I think a lot of the times, you know, we can get carried away with ideas, not us as HP. I think, you know, maybe companies or whatever can get carried away with ideas without actually thinking about, I don't know, they can just get so caught up in the idea. And I remember in my HSP group that I went through the course with, where we met, we weren't in the same group, we've met since, anyway, that's beside the point. But there was a lady there who wasn't there to become she wasn't a coach. She wanted to use the skills that she had learned on the course, on the program, in her existing job. And she was absolutely brilliant at seeing how big, high-level decisions, how they would come down and how they were going to affect people. She wasn't particularly popular when she raised these things, but it was but there was somebody in that company who saw how valuable what she was doing. And you know, she said it's not always easy, because there are a lot of people who don't like what I've got to say, but I know that what I've got to say is really important. And then there's somebody very high up who actually can see what I'm about. So that's why it works. Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Yeah. I mean, think about the time and money and effort saved by not just, you know, going down this one pathway and not considering, you know, what she's seeing. She's seeing this like, oh, wait a minute, this is a potential problem. Like, you could problem solve that ahead of time, right? You could make it better for the people at the end before you get there, and then find out, oh shoot, this isn't what we wanted at all. And now you've got to rejigger it, if you even have the time and money to do that at that point.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, and I think most of the time it actually applies to decisions that are made to affect employees, staff, you know. It's, you know, everything's always about profit. So it seems that as long as we're making more money, it doesn't, you know, let's think about the money we're making first rather than the people. And actually, you know, without the people, you're not going to be doing anything. So why companies, I know some are getting better, but why companies don't look after their staff better, I don't know. You know, I mean, I'm a qualified lawyer. I don't actually practice the law anymore, but the law firms I've worked in over the years have never been great at looking after their staff. And I believe a lot of what they do now is pretty much lip service. It's not real, like, it's about, I once got told that I care too much. And it's like, okay, you know, but actually you need one person who cares, you know, when everybody else, okay, so I was talking about a small thing here, but you know, if everybody else is focused on the bottom line, you do need somebody who cares about the people who are involved. I think you do anyway.
Yes. Oh my, I mean, Philippa, you've hit one of my hot buttons. Yes.
Oh, have I?
Yes.
Woo, we'll have to have a button. We'll have to have an actual button.
We'll have to have a whole,
goes, woo, 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 woo.
I mean, yes, I won't get on my soapbox. Maybe we can devote another episode to digging in a little bit more, but the idea that companies are putting profit above people, and how damaging that is to individuals, but also to society, to families. Like, it's a cascading effect. It really is.
To the planet as well.
Yes.
And as HSPs, we feel a lot of this really deeply. We feel the climate crisis, and we feel, you know, maybe to different degrees, but you know, I'm so like, what on earth can I do about it? I just, you know, really don't know. But I'm sure there are some HSPs who are feeling it even more deeply than I am. You know, I'm sure we all have our own area of fascination, our own area of real interest. And, you know, I am devastated about what is happening to the planet, but also that that is not my zone of genius either. So but it does affect me.
Absolutely. Affects all of us.
Of course it does.
And to your point, you know, when you're told at work you're too sensitive, which is something that I have definitely heard multiple times. I think it's, again, not unique to us, but it's like, pick that apart a second. It's just like, caring about people is not a weakness. People are the things that are running everything.
Yeah.
Right? If the people aren't healthy, then the systems aren't going to be healthy. And we need people who are caring about the people. We need people who are sensitive, who can pick up on what is going wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I've said to you before, we're the canaries in the coal mine. Like, we, as highly sensitive people, we can pick up on something that is amiss before other people can. And eventually it gets to a point where then lots of people then are also saying, hey, there's something wrong here. So it's not like we can pick up things and no one else can, but we're an early warning system,
Yeah.
right? So if you listen to us earlier on, we can make change sooner.
Yeah. I remember going to a law firm, to an old boss of mine, and asking for his feedback on whether you know, if I wanted to go into law firms and help them look after their staff better, because I had this real desire to do that. Yeah. And I said, but how does that land with you? I just wanted to use him as a sounding board. And he was really great. And he said, you know, Philippa, he said, I think you're really onto something here, but we're just not ready for that. And then, yeah, you know, a year later, the pandemic hit, and now everything's in a right old mess. So, you know, I'm not claiming to be some amazing visionary, but actually there have been quite a few times through my life where I've thought, oh, either that's a really good idea, or that's a really bad idea, or this would be really good to happen, or whatever. And it turns out a year or so later, either it's been adopted or it's been not, or do you know, it's like, oh, maybe absolutely. I should, why didn't I say something?
Yes, I had a lot of those moments. Why didn't I say something? But why didn't we say something?
Well, there you go then. So that comes back to safety, doesn't it?
That's right. That's exactly right.
It comes back to safety, and also some of the things that I'm talking about, it also comes back to owning my worth, which I didn't at that time. And owning my worth has come from quite a few things that have happened in the last 6 years. One of which, though, is really discovering I'm an HSP, and now a couple of years later, I'm ready to really step into this arena with you. That's what I'm doing now, and really talking about it, because it's really important.
Yes,
agree. Yeah. So owning our true self is the start of for me anyway, a whole different way of life, and you know, that for you too. I just wish more children could be brought up owning their, being allowed, being nurtured to own their true self.
Yes, and not just their highly sensitive self, but all children being nurtured to be their true self. It's a dream of mine in the world, honestly, that all people really were in touch with who they were and were being that in the world, because the world would look different. We would have different systems. The world would work for people, and it would work for the planet. It just would.
It would. And I know, you know, that's a very, you know, I'm sure, you know, if there's anybody listening to going, oh yeah, well, that's really simplistic, and who are they to be going on about that? Well, you know, we can dream. We can have that dream. We can have that desire. And yes, it might be quite simplistic, but actually, why do things have to be complicated all the time? And let's not overcomplicate them and make them into something, oh, you know, only a few people can understand. I don't know. I'm beginning to think that everything is just smoke and mirrors, and actually it just all boils down to quite simple humanity and being good and kind, and you know, but then I know, anyway, it's complicated. What else is on your list before I start going off on all these?
We both have our soapboxes, don't we? Yes.
Humor was on the list.
Yes.
I I read that somewhere. I found a blog post that was talking about HSPs having humor. I mean, obviously, I would say that HSPs are the funniest people in the world, but it did say that we can be quite quirky and quite,
yeah.
what did I say, quirky and nerdy, and
yeah,
but actually quite funny with it.
yes,
And
yes.
I love the word quirky. I like to use the
too.
word quirky in relation to myself. So we're quirky and funny, apparently.
Yeah, we are.
Or
We
funny
are.
in our quirkiness, maybe.
Yeah.
As opposed to our HSP-ness.
It's funny because there are times when I'm intentionally funny and I'm like, really proud of my humor.
Yeah.
And then there are equally a number of times where I'm just walking around in the world being myself, and my wife will just die laughing. And she's like, "You're hilarious." And I'll be like, "I am?"
Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm just being
okay.
me. That happens to me as well. And it's just like, okay, well, whatever.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Exactly. We're just spreading joy wherever we go.
Exactly. Well, we try.
Yeah.
On our good days.
Absolutely. We do try. One of the other things on our list was that people feel safe to share things with us.
Yes. I've already I already touched on that, didn't I? That people with clients have said that to me, and I'm sure you've had it. The clients have said to you, "I've never told anybody this before," and they then tell you things.
100%. And it would happen to me in life before I was a coach. Like, people would be in conversation with me and then say, "Wow, I don't know why I just told you that."
Yes.
And then when I became a coach, I would hear from my clients, "Oh, it feels so safe here with you." We were talking about psychological safety before. Like, I think we create a really safe place for people.
Yeah.
Then it was one of my clients who said, "I can always just say the truth here." And I took that as such a compliment. Like, she could just say whatever was true for her. She didn't have to hide anything. She didn't have to put on any masks. She didn't have to pretend. She could just say what's true, and she knew it was safe. And I think that's a giant gift we give to the world.
Absolutely. I mean, what's better than that?
Right.
That people feel safe with us to share those innermost tender parts of them that they've never been able to share with anybody else.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I was asking a client for some feedback on what that was, and she said to me, a massive part of that is a lack of judgment. Like, she didn't feel judged by me at all. And I joke and I say to I say to clients, don't worry, I'm from Wigan, and if that's not going to mean anything to the audience outside the UK, but that's quite a tough mining, in the old days, mining town up in the north of England, and we're all pretty tough and whatever. And I say, I'm from Wigan, you can't shock me, I've seen it all. Just say whatever, and that sort of normally breaks the ice. And but I think that's a great privilege, to be the confidant of people who, for things that they really need to say, they really need to say out loud. To I'm a great believer in talking about things out loud, because it releases the pressure around it. It almost like, say it out loud and it can go then.
That's right. Yeah. Some of it dissipates.
Yes.
Because you've released it, like you said.
And you've said it, and the world hasn't fallen apart.
That's
and
right.
I haven't screamed in horror and gone, "Oh, I can't possibly," and
nothing
and then,
terrible happened.
No, and then that there is a real release that comes from that at times, and if that's been blocking something, then we can sort of move on. It works, and it just is magic sometimes.
It absolutely is. And connecting to people that deeply, which is, again, one of the things that we're great at as HSPs, that is the thing that fuels me. Like, really being able to heart to heart connect with someone. A lot of the connections out in the world are really high and surface level. How's the weather? That kind of stuff makes my skin crawl, honestly. If I have to do it for extended period of time. Obviously, I don't want to go up to every new stranger and just dive right into the deep stuff.
Tell me what's hurting your heart today.
Right. But
or what's in your heart.
But really having a conversation that's meaty and meaningful, where I really get to know the person, where they know they're safe, where I'm not over here judging them, but I just really get to know them.
Yes.
It's so uplifting for me. It's fueling. I love that.
Yeah, me too. And it reminds me of a saying that I hear quite a lot. And we're very good at this. We're very good at listening to understand. We're not listening to respond. And that's the difference. I think we use our head. If we are in our head while we're listening to somebody, and while they are speaking, we are busy trying to work out how we're going to respond, then we're not making that connection with them. We're missing that opportunity to just really listen and connect, like you just talked, connect, heart to heart connection, and just like, oh God, that sounds really, really hard, or oh God, or how hilarious, or oh my God, you did what, or whatever, but you've really been absorbed in what they're saying, so you're in it with them.
Yeah.
And that I wouldn't want to be missing that either.
Right. It's so rich.
Yeah.
Which is why, another thing on the list, why we're such great friends. HSPs have really deep friendships with folks. So we are often not the ones that have 35 friends, but we'll have a lesser number of very deep connections, typically.
Yeah. And that makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What else is on the list, or have we done it?
No, there's more. There's creativity was one that we wanted to hit on.
Yes.
Because it's kind of a big bubble. There's our own creativity. Like we can be very out of the box thinkers. We're very in tune with letting things flow, and so HSPs can be creative in all kinds of different ways. But then something that you mentioned that I'd love you to talk more about is also how we interact with others' creativity. You had something really cool to say about that.
Yeah. And I think the temptation when we talk about, the minute you mention the word creativity, I mean, certainly I would have usually gone to, somebody who's painting or drawing, whereas creativity is just being is thinking about things slightly differently, or bringing a different way into, so you can be thinking creatively and behaving creatively at work by problem solving. Or I don't know, running out of ideas, but creativity is much wider than just painting and drawing.
100%.
And I've discovered, as part of discovering I'm an HSP and all those things, at the same time I rediscovered my love of writing, and that's been a really great gift to me. And every now and again I just feel drawn to write a poem. It's weird. It just sort of spills out of me in about 10 minutes. I mean, they're not amazing poems, for God's sake, but they just come. It's just really interesting. But I think what I said is, not only does creativity is something that comes quite naturally to us in the big wider sense of being creative, and we get to really rejoice in other people's creativity as well. I think we can really be with them in their creativity and appreciate it, even if we don't like whatever it is they're doing, but we can appreciate it for what it is, if that makes sense. And we can really be moved by, and here I suppose I'm talking more about the traditional sort of things we might think of as creativity, but really luxuriating in a painting maybe, and going, wow, and look at those colors, and look at the way you've done that, and I really appreciate the way that you've put that together or something, or that really speaks
Yes.
to me, and this is what I'm getting from it. And you know, we can bring all these details to the attention of other people as well, so
Yes.
they can step more into the finer details.
That's exactly right.
Not only do we appreciate it, we can show the person who's created it that we really appreciate it, and actually maybe we can help other people appreciate it, be that music, be it dance,
Yes.
be it, you know, song, be it a poem, be it a story,
Yes.
be it a painting, a drawing, whatever it is, be it a creative
Yes.
solution, although maybe
That's right.
you know, maybe you have to work a bit harder to get everybody on board to really appreciate the creativity of this solution, but you know what I mean.
I do.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. And those details that we notice, that then I love what you said, that then we can also help other people notice. So because we see the world a little bit differently, we take in more things, we notice the little details that other people miss. Us talking about them highlights them for folks who didn't see them to begin with. And I love that. I think that's a great gift we give to the world.
Yeah, I think it is as well. Yeah, there are so many.
There are so many. I think we've touched on quite a few.
I think we have. And I'm hoping that, you know, listening to this, any HSPs or people who know HSPs, and you know, are really beginning to understand that this is something brilliant.
Yeah.
It's something, it's not something to be frightened about. It's not something to shy away from. Being an HSP, I'm talking about, you know, it's not something to shy away from. It's not something to want to hide and, you know, feel like you don't want people to know. I mean, you might not want people to know straight away, but really I'm hoping that we're doing a good job at showing you all the beauty and the gifts that come with being an HSP.
Yes. Yes. And we're needed in the world.
We're
needed.
We are needed. We have an awful lot to offer.
Yes.
If only it could be appreciated.
Yes.
But, you know,
and so we're starting here. We're starting the appreciation here.
We are. And, you know, please let us have your you know, what's landed for you if you're listening to this, what's really landed for you if you're an HSP, or landed for you about somebody else maybe in your life. What are you getting from this that's really, I don't know, helping you see the gift that it is? I would really love to know that. I'm sure Robbie would really love to know that. So
yeah, I would. And what did we miss? What is a big gift that we didn't mention?
Yeah,
I'd love to hear those.
We would. That's the homework for this week. If you're listening, especially if you're an HSP, what did we miss? Yes. Let's collate that, and we can add that to the list that we've already got.
Beautiful.
Marvelous. I think we'll leave that here for today. We will be back with another episode soon. But in the meantime, take really good care of yourselves. Thank you for listening, and it's bye from me.
Bye from me.
Take care.
Thanks for listening to HSP Connection. If you've enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future episodes. Also, we'd really appreciate it if you could rate the podcast and share it with anyone you think might be interested. It helps others find us. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, you can also leave us a review.
To get in touch with us, you can email us at hspconnectionpodcast@gmail.com. And we'd love to hear from you with your thoughts and comments on the episodes and any suggestions you have for future topics and guests.
We are both HSP coaches and speakers. And to find out more about Robbie, go to Robbie Leigh, that's leigh.com.
And to find out more about Philippa, go to safeandsupported.co.uk. See you next time.